let's look at this carefully, because we looked at the fact it's $650,000, which, you know, makes no dent in a $67 million debt. So politics must be at play. What is going on? What is the rationale there?
Well, I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt.
You're a better person than I am.
Okay, well, I think the rationale is that we're bothersome.
Right.
We're not sophisticated enough. We're the average people. You know, the Seattle channel has basically turned into an arts and cultural channel with some government programming. And that's fine. They do some pretty good arts and cultural stuff. But I think that if they had, say, an additional $650,000, then they could do more of their arts and culture and buy more programming, unlike SCAN producing our own local programming. So I think a lot of it really is just that we're bothersome to them, and that there is some question about they just let anything go on air at SCAN, which I think is... I think that we've done a really good job of making sure that we're curating our programming, that we have a diversity of programming that speaks to people's different political points of view, their language-specific needs. We cover the fairs and the festival. We do our own fair share of neighborhood meetings and groups. And we have, like I said, an awesome youth media program. But I think it's just sort of like... they're bothersome, you know, they have this programming that we don't necessarily 100% agree with, and we would just like to have their money. I think it's more like that. But I think what's really important is, again, we're not taking any money from the general fund. It's dedicated franchise fees. I was looking at my bill yesterday, and you know that franchise fee is now like $5.06
That's a line
per
I can't
month.
identify on my cable bill.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty, you know, that's, you know, we're paying $5.06, and I think that you multiply that by the approximately 185,000 subscribers in Seattle on a monthly basis, and it's sort of like the people should be able to have something.
They should.
Yeah, they should. I don't think
for $650,000, I think that's
for
fair.
$650,000.
I mean, I have to say there seems to be something prejudicial in the idea of excising that budget line, because it is, as you say, Seattle Channel does many great things, but it is a very sort of, you know, narrow range of programming they provide, and this is really something that is as diverse as the city really is at its very base roots.
At its very basic roots, and I think that's really important. The good and the bad and the ugly, you know, everyone doesn't have the technical skills, and we're always working with people, and that's another thing that would be lost. You can't go from $650,000 to $100,000 and expect that you'd get a good quality of anything. I always say to people, it costs us $85,000 a year just to pay the utilities, the insurance for the building operations itself. So that gives you a clue of what you can do with $100,000, which is basically nothing.
Right. But you can do that all in a place that rhymes with cent. So, you know, what can we do? Because I'm sure that people, including myself, want to do something to save SCAN TV. It should be saved. Maybe there's some millionaire out there who says, "Oh, I could take care of $650 myself."
Well, you know what?
Maybe that would be
awesome. You know, I use the number 650, but I would love to have the $2.738 million that the Seattle channel has. But what we can do, I was at the most recent city budget hearing, and one of the people, Barbara Brennan from Words of Peace, got up and she was so eloquent. She told the city council that you should be ashamed. You should be ashamed to take away this opportunity from people. So I think on one level we can shame them, because they really should be ashamed not allowing the People's Channel to move forward. But the other thing, in a real concrete way, is that it will take 3 city council people to reappropriate SCAN being included into the budget. And so that's what we're working on right now, identifying 3 city council people who will provide the leadership. So I tell everyone, email, call, sign the petition that we have online at www.scantv.org. Just inundate the city council and the mayor with Save SCAN. Save SCAN.
Who are the best targets? Because there got to be 3.
You know, I think that there's lots of folks who are potentially good targets. I like, just because Richard Conlon is the city council president, I think we should do the city council president. I think Bruce Harreld, because he is in charge of the Department of Information and Technology. So I think Bruce Harreld should be inundated with emails and phone calls and letters of support. And our good friend Nick Licata, because we're under his committee, Arts and Culture. And I personally love Sally Bagshaw, but she's got a fight on her hands because parks and recreation is really, really important. But ultimately, everyone will have the opportunity to vote on it, because once 3 city council people have been identified to provide the leadership, it will take 5 people, 5 city council members, to vote in an affirmative so that SCAN can continue at a line item that merits our ability to continue to do our work. So then I think everyone, Mike O'Brien is demonstrating that he is very thoughtful, conscientious new city council member. We have Tim Burgess, although his issues are public safety and policing, I think that he can also be convinced. And Tom Rasmussen, I know, is a good guy from when I worked with him in Human Services, and he was the director of senior services for the city. So I think that Seattle's real fortunate, and they just all need to be inundated with information to let them know that SCAN is important and people care about us.
Knowledge is power, particularly in the hands of the city council.
Yes, it is. It is.
Now, I'm curious. I want to clarify, because you mentioned and nicely woven in there that Seattle Channel gets $2.73 million.
Yes, and and they actually took a cut because they were receiving 2.938, and so they took a 5.5% cut. But then SCAN took a 100% cut.
So it seems to be problematic.
Yes, it is. It's problematic and ironic.
Do you think they would share?
I think they should be sharing. I mean, part of our whole message is it's about equity.
Right.
It's like franchise fees were set up by the federal government for an equitable distribution of resources between the public, between education, and between government. In this case, the city of Seattle just has to share between public access and the Seattle government channel. And, you know, when we talk about looking at things, I always go back to a race and social justice lens, then there's no justice in that. There is no equity. It is disproportional. It is marginalizing the voices of the people. So I think that they should share. I think that the city should find another way to pay for its email and Outlook upgrades. And I think the Office of Cable Communications, which is the budget line item that SCAN came out of, they have a budget line item of $634,000 for 2.75 FTEs, or full-time equivalents, and SCAN has basically 15 employees with a line item of about $634,000 for our FTEs.
Wow.
So I mean, it's like no way can you say there's any equity.
Right. Wow. So that's fantastic disparity
Yeah,
on both those levels.
Yes.
How did that happen? Because both, you know, if we go back to Seattle Channel and SCAN, they're both city facilitated programs. How did that happen? Why the imbalance?
Well, I think, again, I don't know why, and you know, there's just, I try not to understand everything, because I'm like one of those people, my mind would be just overwhelmed, because I like to try to understand people's rationales and
if
their
you
thinking.
try to understand nothing, you could be president.
Yes. Well, actually, that was with our former president. I don't think that's
I'm not
true
saying
with
about
our
Barack,
current one.
no.
But I think the deal is that people are just greedy. That's how I look at it. I mean, if you understand greed, then the whole premise of greed is I need all the toys. And so DeWitt thinks they need all the toys, and the Seattle Channel should get all the toys. And the thing is, there should be toys for everybody.
That's right.
You know, especially the people need toys, and all the kids want to play, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Seattle Channel doesn't have green screen, but you have so much more going on there. That's one thing you hold over their heads. So you told us about the city council. We know who we're going to pester. I'm going after Nick.
Okay.
Nick Licata, you're on my list.
Okay.
Conlon, after you too. Watch out. But we're going to go after the city council members. What else can we do? Because there are a bunch of petitions, there are a bunch of things going on online. What can we do?
I think we can show up. There are 2 city budget hearings that will go forward on October the 13th. There's one at South Seattle Community College at the Brocky Center, and then the final one is October the 26th in the council chambers downtown. I think people should show up. They should have signs. They should make noise. They should write those letters. You know, old advocacy days, people got out in March. If they want to march, do that. But I think it's like really important that people just make sure that this remains on the front burner, that people know that we don't like this, that we think it's not fair, it's not equitable, it represents greed, it's not what we want, it's marginalizing the voices of the people, and it's making government less transparent. And in this day and age, we need transparency.
Yes, and some accountability.
And some
certainly.
accountability, for sure.
And now you can certainly go on Comcast and you can find Scan TV there for as long as we can find Scan TV there, which hopefully is many, many centuries into the future. But people can also find Scan shows on Vimeo.
Yes, they
and can sample the programming. Because that's really the big thing is I think that will convince folks is go watch the shows.
Go watch the show. Like I said, you can find anything. Whatever you enjoy. We don't have a, you know, somebody was telling me that they were thinking we should have our own shopping channel for all the shoppers of the world. So that's something that we could move into. But for almost everything that you're interested in, from animals to children to cooking to gardening to political viewpoints to whether or not aliens exist and where are they, there is like anything that you could possibly see.
Sunday is all faith-based programming, and you could, like, it doesn't matter if you're Catholic, Jewish, Druid,
atheist,
Muslim, it doesn't matter. Atheists have an hour.
Yes,
on a faith-based day.
And it's one of our most popular shows,
That's
you know,
right.
and they're on a Sunday. And so I think that that's the beauty of Scan. Is
What's the
it,
name of that show? Who gives a good goddamn?
No, it's Ask an Atheist. Ask an Atheist.
Ask an Atheist.
Ask an Atheist. Very popular show.
They won't be doing a prayer circle for Scan, but they'll be doing their own.
They'll be doing their own thing, and we appreciate what they're doing.
Wow. And so you have done such a fantastic job leading the organization, and I know that you will into the future. If you could, like, make one plea to people to understand what is so significant about Scan, what is that thing?
I think it's the diversity of the programming, and it's the people who could be any other place. It's all the people that run the cameras, that mentor and teach. They could be anywhere because they're very talented. They choose to be here because they believe in, you know, for the people, programming that speaks to communities, cultural groups, and the issues. And so I think that's really what's important about Scan, is that we really do reflect the city of Seattle, the Pacific Northwest, what's important. And I think that that would be an important voice that would be lost.
I couldn't agree more. I have to say for myself that I've had opportunities to speak elsewhere and produce elsewhere, but when Scan invited me, I was incredibly flattered by the idea that I could actually put out a show the way I wanted to, with the guests that I wanted to, covering the topics that I wanted to, knowing that it was actually embraced, not because of my lack of talent, but because that there's that great belief and faith in the fact that people ought to have the right to express themselves.
Right.
And I think Scan has done a fantastic job. And I encourage all of you to support that because we need a station like this to actually represent the people. It's freedom of speech. It's not about budget lines. It's about speech. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
All righty. Thank you.
Thank you.
I told you I was shocked.